Right, Shalom. First and foremost, all praise to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well and labor in the word and doctrine. Shalom, meaning peace. May that be into the elect of the nation of Israel. So we're the Hebrew Israelites coming to prophesy the return of Hamashiach Yahawashi, that the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and the downfall of this man's system.
That's right.
Let's get into Isaiah 14, Babakashah.
Book of Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
Right, so the Lord, the Heavenly Father, will have mercy on Jacob, and that's dealing with the southern kingdom, and will yet choose Israel, that's dealing with the northern kingdom, and set them in their own land, that being, what are the borders of our land, from the river Nile to the river Euphrates. I think it phrased in the scriptures the Great River, if I'm not mistaken. The Great River. And the strangers shall be joined with them. Now these strangers, they're not the heathen, right? These strangers here are the Israelite foreigners. Do you know where it's written? Gershom. Moses' son Gershom.
I believe that might be Exodus. Remember going to the video with that? If not, I can...
Yeah, please. Is that even that's a cut? You know, you have to have two Israelite parents to be an Israelite. Well, how do any of the tribes exist? It's not like Jacob took his daughters to wife, because that would be off. It tells you that in the law in Leviticus 18 about certain people that you're allowed to go in unto and uncover their nakedness.
Where we shall you spell Gershom?
Gershom. The first verse it comes up.
Right. Exodus 2 and 22. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land.
Now let's look at the word Gershom, and let's break down both of them. Certain times you read the word stranger, you need to look at the context, man.
Right. It goes into foreigner. Firstborn son of Moses and Zipporah. Firstborn son of Levi. A son of the priestly family of Phinehas, who returned from exile with Ezra.
Because Moses was a Levite. If you click on the word God there, it should be the etymology. Once it goes back to
that word here.
Oh yeah, sorry, that one.
To Gershom or Gershom exile, firstborn son of Levi, born before Jacob's family went to Egypt.
And now it should have just the rush. So it should just be God. That's a real word.
Bear with us.
Anyway, the word Gar, it means, Gar means foreign or stranger, exile, and then Sham, or I believe it to be Sham or Shawam. Sham goes into name, so called a stranger. So even Moses' son was literally called a stranger. Yeah, so that proves that not only non-Israelites are strangers, but not only the literal heathen, the other nations are strangers. So back to Isaiah 14 and
1. Isaiah 14. Verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
Right, another point to prove that these aren't the literal heathen, if you go into that word cleave,
Okay.
It says to join, attach to, join together, to join, attach to attach oneself, joining, to be joined together, hold oneself, to hold oneself, to join oneself, to cause a scab upon, smite with a scab. So who's going to join and attach to? Now the other nations are going to be in the kingdom as a lower class. So they're not going to be joined or attached. They're going to be far removed other nations will eventually go back to their land after 1,000 years. Yeah, but he is not going to have a land. You know, his land is going to be scattered throughout. If you can get the last verse or the last few verses in Obadiah, it'll tell you about that. About how his land is going to get. What does he need it for? He's going to be sprinkled around Jake, you know, as slaves. You don't need a land. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 3 and verse 32 on down. Or is there any other people that knoweth thee beside Israel? Or what generation hath so believed thy covenants as Jacob? And yet their reward appeareth not, and their labour hath no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth, and think not upon thy commandments. Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world, and so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. And so that's the contrast there, Israel and the heathen. That is talking about the non-Israelites. You know, contextually, this contrast, Israel and the heathen, you know, because Israel became strangers. Israel became outcasts. Hey,
This is the book of Obadiah 1 and 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. For Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, have spoken it. And they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain the Philistines. And they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead.
Right, so it's going into the rearranging and removing of the land. You know, for example, the Benjamites get certain bits of land. Yeah, because once the borders, well, the whole land expands, so the borders need adjusting slightly. So that's what that's going into. So he's not going to have a land. So how can they join themselves or attach to if they're, you know, a lower class? You would never say the so-called black, you know, the so-called native man in America was joined unto the ease when they were in slavery. Yeah, we were joined up unto yokes. Yeah, we were joined into shackles. We were very much separate, very much of our own. Even when we were scattered around in certain houses, in certain fields. We weren't joined unto them. But let's get 1 and 2 now, please.
Isaiah 14, verse 1. For the Lord Yahawah will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
Right, so the Israelite foreigners and the Israelites who knew they were Israelites are back together now, and what are they going to do?
Verse 2, and the people shall take them.
So the people now is Jacob, the southern kingdom, Israel, the northern kingdom, the strangers, the Israelite foreigners, they're back in their lot. Now them all together are the people. They're going to take them, and then it's going to tell you who the them is.
And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall...
Which means the whole nation, right? Because you have the house of Jacob, the house of Jacob, or the house of Judah, and the house of Israel. In contrast, that's the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom. Now it says the house of Israel is referring to the whole 12 tribes.
And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors.
So there is one. That's called a righteous judgment.
Yeah.
This is Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 16. Therefore all they that have devoured thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So there it is. Again, this isn't saying they're going to join together, they're going to be hand in hand. Ooh, there's a scripture on that. They're the wicked join hand in hand. Yeah, but the seed of the righteous shall be delivered. There's one... Can you remember where that is in Maccabees? It says, in fact, I'll get this one. One in Maccabees it says, who hasn't gotten of the spoil of her kingdom? Talking of Jerusalem. The book of Nahum, chapter 2. No, it was Nahum chapter 3 and verse 18 and 19. Thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. Thy nobles shall dwell in the dust. Thy people is scattered upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. There is no healing of thy bruise. And let me just say, Babylon the Great is the new Egypt. It's obviously the new Babylon, because you had an ancient Babylon, now you have mystery Babylon the Great. So that's Assyria, that's Nineveh, that's Sodom, that's Egypt. Of course, as I just said, that's Babylon. So all these different parabolic mentions of them in the scripture is all these top kingdoms, right? Because he's taken the worst aspects of all these kingdoms, amalgamated them and pushed them out as one. And that is the philosophy of Babylon. For example, Libertas, the Statue of Liberty, that goes back to some idolatry, which is either Roman or Greek, and all that Greek and Roman shit, for the most part, they didn't invent that. They regurgitated it from Egypt, from Assyria, Babylon, right? So that's where you get all this idolatry. It's not like they came up with it. So that's why they're referenced as Assyrians. That's why they're called Ninevans. That's why they're called Sodomites, Egyptians. Right? So this is Nahum 3 and 19. There is no healing of thy bruise, thy wound is grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee shall clap their hands over thee. For upon whom hath not thy wickedness passed continually? Right, and that's what we hear about. That's why we come week in, week out. That's why we always talk about it. Because these are the things that are about to happen. What is a prophet? Pro and phasai. Pro meaning before, phasai meaning to speak. So we're speaking before the judgment that will be coming upon this very earth.
First Maccabees chapter 2 verse 10. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils?
Start at 6, please.
First Maccabees 2 and 6. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there? When it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and a sanctuary into the hand of strangers, her temple is become as a man without glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy.
And this isn't a parable. All these things were literally happening. They were getting on some wicked shit in the time of Maccabees. Jake was joining in upon it, but I mean, the heathen, the literal heathen, the other nations, doing some wicked shit onto the Israelites.
Verse 10. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils?
Right, so tell me what nation has not, just as Babylon pushed out that wicked spirit on all the nations, what nation has not come and destroyed Jerusalem? What nation has not come and tried to do some wickedness, some evil, And in this time, that's happening again and again, and that spirit is going out because they're pushing it. Right? They're pushing that wine. The scripture refers to doctrines, philosophy as wine. So the wine of Babylon is put upon these nations.
That's right. So Psalm 83 and verse 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So why do you think that Vocab's trying to push so hard? He's not going in to these other Christian bug outs that he perceives to be bug outs as well, and trying to convert them onto his way, his Calvinist way. start stopping. It's prophecy, but your prophecy as well. There's going to be scoffers, mockers, detractors.
Right.
Those are the country part. Right, but that's why you give us ammunition, spiritual ammunition. You do a video, you fuck it all up. Then we go back over it, we go, all right, so I can pull this scripture to prove him wrong there, this scripture to prove him wrong there. Right, so like it says, we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth.
Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites, of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre.
And who do you see at the top of that? You see man.
That's right. Ashur also is joined with them.
Which goes back to Syria.
They have holpen, the children of Lot, Selah.
And Lot, obviously Lot's children, Moab, Ammon, as aforementioned.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kison, which perished. At Endor they became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb, yea, all their princes as Zebath and Zalmunna. You on there?
The next one as well.
Oh yeah, verse 12.
Then we'll finish that bit there. Now this one is key. You've got the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Ishmaelites getting in a multi-ethnic church, saying this is the house of the Most High.
Verse 12. Who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of the Most High in possession.
So when you've got a Moabite pastor, and you've tried the spirit, and he's definitely a Moabite, he's pushing out that eating dog spirit. So these are the nations that are adversarial, that are against you. These are the nations that were always against us. Mystery Babylon came in. They helped forward the affliction as well.
And benefited from the transatlantic slave trade too, and from our just from us in general.
Because anything that they benefit from Babylon the Great, they're directly benefiting from our slave labor, man.
That's right.
Because how did that country build up to the point where you've got merchants that are selling thine wood, cinnamon? Let me get that, man. So it's Revelation 18 and verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God, Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth, right, going into these rulers of these other kingdoms, which means a nation. A king is the top position ruler. Really a president is below a king. But you've got, because Daniel was made president, if I'm not mistaken. Do you mind searching up the word president? Find that. Because a president or a prime minister, because monarchy is sort of being abolished on the earth currently. You've got the Queen of England, but she don't really, she's not making the decisions. We've still got a parliament.
This is president.
Sorry, I meant on the. In fact, let's get that. But then.
Yeah, come. The word for president on Etim Online, it goes back to the late 14th century. Appointed governor of a province, a chosen leader of a body of persons.
That's good, actually. So a province, if you've ever played one of them ancient games, like a city is a province, right? America is a big city, so inside that you've got enough provinces. So really a president is over one province, like a mayor, right? So that's over that province, that's over that province, and then the king is over all the provinces in his kingdom, right? So that's the difference there. And then if we could get it on the blue. So a real ruler of a country is really meant to be a king of a nation. Because that's what all the heathen had. That's why we wanted a king. When you get into the history, before that we had seers, prophets, and Moses was really he was set up as a king. He was in the position of a king. But we didn't have a king, literally. But then we were like, oh come on, we want to be like the other nations. That's why we got a king. And then the kings went off, certain kings went on, and then we went into slavery, and there's the whole history there. But ultimately, when our king comes back now, that's going to be Yahawashi. He will not meet thee as a man. Right? Like it says, no man shall buy you, no man shall redeem you. well, this man is not coming like a man. He's coming like a terrible demon-like power.
Is it the word king?
President. We should come up with the Daniel in the book of Daniel.
Then I go for it.
Try presidents. Do I give it a Google? I'm sure I've heard of that.
Daniel chapter 6 and verse 3. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault.
Right, and that's what's going to happen. Not that we're going to be set up above governors, but like I said, the Lord Yahweh, bahasham, Yahawashi will give you what is it, words. Let's just pull it, please. Gainsay nor resist. A mouth and sound speech, I think it says one of those lines.
Titus chapter 2 verse 8, sound speech that cannot be condemned.
So let's start up a bit. If I start with one,
Titus
there's also one so-called
Book of Titus chapter 2 verse 1, but speak thou the things which become sound doctrine.
Right, so guess what? Saying that you can have sex on the Sabbath is not sound doctrine. Saying the MOTB is sleeping with Edomite women is not sound doctrine. Saying if you're in ISUPK you've got the MOT, or it is likely you have the MOTB, that's not sound doctrine. What else?
Telling your congregation to take the jump shot.
Certainly not sound doctrine, sound speech. And that can be condemned. That can certainly be condemned. Now my man's shouting about, he doesn't use the term E, he doesn't use the full term of the island. He says the white man. Yeah, apparently he's the devil. But what did he say? He said something. He doesn't want you to take it, so he's telling you to take it, that you don't take it, so that you might not take it, that if you take it. What the fuck, man? No, and we're not gonna say too much on that jump shot as well, man. Even when you use code words, your video gets taken down. Ask this brother.
Right. But speak thou the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience. The aged woman likewise, that they be in behaviour as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine. Not false accusers, not given too much wine, teachers of good things, that they may.
So really, you can teach if say what is it, 3 score, over 60. You can teach the younger women the scriptures if you've learned it from your husband. If you've been, you're not meant to go out teaching a man, but you can teach also good things, things that are beneficial for building a household, for helping, being a helpmeet, stuff like that. Not teaching, oh, those guys are wicked. Leave your husband, get another one. He's not good enough. He didn't make enough money. He didn't have flashy garments. That's wicked, man. So when you sisters come in the truth and they're looking, you're just looking to monkey branching. You can't do that. With whatever man you get with, you have to stay with. So make sure you pick the right one. That's why in the ancient world, it wouldn't be you picking it. Who would it be? It'd be your father. Right? And even in this country, I was watching a documentary on Georgian times, and it was talking about how this girl was given away to a wealthy family at 10 years old to be married. Right? And then they were talking about it. Obviously, they've got the feminist spin on it. Still like, it was so horrible. You know, she was given from the possession of her father to her husband, and it's like that's meant to be some profound, horrible oppression. But look, you've got. Yeah, we'll get back into the scriptures, Salahi, but you've got people that will make out, for example, King David, when he was old and up in age, they gave him a young virgin, right? So the age difference was crazy. You've got people now, if there's an age gap, say the girl's 18, the guy is 30, like, oh my God, she's so young, she can't make decisions for herself. Hold on, that sounds a bit oppressive, because according to your law, she's allowed to vote for who can run the country. Right. You're telling me she can't vote for who's going to not even run her life, because you know it says your husband will rule over you, but that's not the spirit they push out. But who can be her partner? She can't make that decision, but she can, you know, contribute to who can govern the whole earth. That sounds a bit oppressive, man. This is, in fact, yeah, you keep going in there.
Titus 2 and 3. The aged woman likewise, that they be in behaviour as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given too much wine, teachers of good things.
Right, so not sipping, you know, 3 bottles of wine, going on comment boards. Oh, you brothers are going off. You know, oh sis, this is, you know, bring it out, sis. You should be showing these false prophets how to, you know, doing all this shit too much, man.
Setting up YouTube channels, you know, trying to go into prophecy and, you know.
Shalom, it's the mighty sister, the mighty sister Robert Carr. Powerful sister.
Verse 4. That they teach the young women to be
sorry.
That's it. That they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet.
What does discreet mean? Running around in I'm not gonna say it, man. You know, being discreet. Look up the word.
Quiet, you know, private. To be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of the Most High be not blasphemed.
And what's if we go into that word blasphemia, right? Again, that's where you get the term fame from. Right, against the fame. I think this will say injurious speech.
Blasphemia. And it goes into speak reproachfully, rail at, to revile, to calumniate, to blaspheme, to be evil spoken of, to be reviled, railed at.
Yes, it says speech injurious to one's good character, something like that. The same word.
Blasphemer only.
Try this one as well, please.
To speak in evil, slanderous, reproachful, railing, abusive.
Okay. Then it should have the term fame. Just there,
fame report. That's it. Fame. To report to fame.
So that's where you get the term fame. So blasphemy means you're going against the fame. You know, you talk, if someone's famous, they've not done anything, it's slander. And then you talk against their famous or their good name. Because that's the one it talks about, Revelation 13. That's this in the spirit of how Rome came, man. They're speaking, blasphemous words.
Yeah.
Reproachful speech.
Verse 6. Young men likewise. Titus 2 and 6. Young men likewise exhort to be sober-minded.
Right, and that doesn't mean you can't have a drink. Right, just like it says it's not good to have excess, it's just like it says to the women. The same applies to the man, really. But when you go into sober-minded, it should be the word sophronia. She's going into a sober mind, a sound mind. Right. Actually play the strong. Right. When it's Greek, you play it, but you can't speak Hebrew.
Strong's G 4993. Sophroneo.
And it says to be of sound mind, to be in one's right mind, to exercise self-control, to put a moderate estimate upon oneself.
Right, like it says Galatians 6. Let me get that real quick. This is the book of Galatians, chapter 6 and verse 3. It says, "For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself." Verse 4, "But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another."
Right.
Is that in Titus?
Yeah. So again, the word goes into to exercise self-control, to be in one's right mind, think of oneself soberly, to curb one's passions.
I know, delusions of grandeur.
That's it on that. Titus 2, verse 7. "In all things, showing thyself a pattern of good works."
A pattern of good works. Not, alright, I did a good work 1 week, then I sort of took 1 week off, then I went back to it, then I thought, I'm not sure, maybe I should. Yeah, a pattern, consistency. The Lord wants consistency. Yeah, if you go to a secular job and you don't, if you're not consistent, I'm going to do this shift, right? You turn up for the shift and do it. That's great. Yeah, you keep doing that, you keep doing that, keep doing that. If you say, yeah, I'll turn up for that one. Maybe I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll go to that one. I'm not sure. You're going to get fired, man. So how much more so for the Lord, right? How much more so for this truth? So a pattern of good works. All right, I gave alms 1 week, and then the next week I punched up some old grandma. That's not a pattern of good works. Yeah, that's confusion. That's one way, 1 week, one way the next. You need to be consistent. And again, a double-minded man is what? Unstable in all his ways. Right, so you need to be consistent, you need to be stable, and that consistency, you're teaching it, learning it, well, learning it enough first, then teaching it, and keeping that consistency, that pattern that keeps you of a sound mind. Otherwise, all this worldly shit, there's too much to distract you in this world. Distract to take you off track. Right, we need to walk on that straight path, narrow gate.
Titus 2 and 7.
Narrow path, sorry.
Exactly. Titus 2 and 7. "In all things, showing thyself a pattern of good works, in doctrine, showing uncorruptness, gravity, sincerity, sound speech that cannot be condemned, that he that is of the contrary part may be ashamed."
Because there's certain times I've seen videos of vocab, he paints us, I'm talking as a body, we're not part of an official camp where we teach the same doctrine, and he paints us some visceral, great, violent, speaking, completely bugged out group, and then he'll go into it and he'll be reviewing it and he'll be like, actually, GMS are some of the most, sincere brothers from what I can see. He didn't say brothers, but some of the most sincere camps. Right. Even though they're talking some nonsense, you can clearly see they believe what they're talking about. That's good. He's condemning it in his own sort of bug out mind, but he's not condemning it. He can't condemn it at the same time. He's doing the impossible.
Titus 2 and 8. "Sound speech that cannot be condemned, that he that is of the contrary part may be ashamed, having no evil thing to say of you."
So he couldn't say, well, he couldn't say, yeah?
Yeah, he just couldn't.
So he can say, I don't believe that they're doing this, I don't believe that what they're teaching is right, but they couldn't say anything when it comes to the conduct, when it comes to the diligence, when it comes to the study, when it comes to the breakdowns, when it comes to the Hebrew hopscotch, as he calls it, going precept upon precept, line upon line. He pretty much said, they clearly are on their thing, man, and they believe it sincerely. Right, this is Luke 21, because that's the thing, anyway. Luke 21 and verse 12. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, and delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what you shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. So it's of the Spirit. Right? If someone comes up, I did a video yesterday, I called it, no, there's, I can't remember what it was now. Basically, there's that scripture, I can't remember what it says verbatim. I think it's 2 Peter 3 and 15.
Second Peter chapter 3 verse 15. "And account that the long suffering
Oh no, Salahi, I think I mean 1 Peter. My fault. 1 Peter
1 Peter chapter 3 verse 15.
Ready to be.
But sanctify the Lord power in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear, having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you, as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in Hamashiach.
It goes into the same thing, man. The exact same thing. Yeah, you're being sincere and you're answering with meekness. So, and it, again, whatever the guy looks like, yeah, he could look like a vocab, he could look like a Sam Shimon, you know, all of them guys, but there could be Jakes. That's the thing. And if you answer like a spiritual retard, you know, you're too slow to understand this could be this nation, it could be that nation, then you're going to put, you know, you might be condemning yourself in that. You know, if you turn a Jake away from the truth because of how you're get out of here, you E. No, without trying the spirit, testing the spirit. Now there's a time for that. You know, say he's been a demon from Teman, yeah, then you deal with them accordingly. You know, the not rendering evil for evil, but dealing with them appropriately. Yeah, even if they're getting irate, it might be a time to say, all right, bro, just step on. Or you might have to get fiery back on them. You know, but you don't have to go to 100 when man's coming on a 1-2. You know, trying to ask some genuine question. Give a genuine answer. It's really that simple. That's all we need to do. You know, just as it says of Noah brought in the flood upon the ungodly by preaching, that's how the fire will be brought in upon the ungodly. Alright, and the Lord is not going to flood the earth with water anymore. That's why we have a rainbow. They read Genesis 9 for that. But the Lord never said, oh, I won't flood the earth with nuclear fire. Yeah, I won't cleanse it with fire. In fact, quite to the contrary, he said that. Yeah, he said he will. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 66. Isaiah chapter 66, and verse 14 and 15. Sorry, 15 and 16. For behold, Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebukes with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahawah shall be many. Right, so the Lord is going to bring a lot of fire. You know, the Lord's going to bring a lot of fire from the chariots. The Lord's going to bring a lot of fire from the missiles. And there's already going to be, you know, great warfare. We went into that last week. You know, about 2nd Ezra, how they're all going to be fighting. 2nd Ezra 13, they're all going to be fighting each other, and they're going to be shitting themselves. But they're still going to want to fight when they see, you know, this what appears to be a mountain, which is a chariot of the Lord. You know, and then it says they basically all turned from fighting one another to fight Yahawashi, and they were afraid yet dares to fight. Right? There's going to be a lot of fear. Even in the elect, it talks about that. Revelation 11. Revelation 11 and verse 12, and it's Revelation 11 and 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake was slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the Most High of heaven. Right, so the 7,000 is dealing with a complete amount. You know, 7 is dealing with a complete amount. Like it talks about, a just man falleth 7 times, you know, rise up again, but the wicked fall, you know, remains falling down. Paraphrasing that. Yeah, got a precept.
Yeah, this is the book of Judith, chapter 16, verse 17. Woe to the nations that rise up against my kindred. The Lord Almighty will take vengeance of them in the day of judgment, in putting fire and worms in their flesh. They shall feel them and weep forever.
That's right, what's the plague that the Lord will smite all of Jerusalem with?
I think you had it. Oh, alright, oh, you're back to it.
Zechariah 14. Verse 4.
Zechariah chapter 14, verse 4. And it, verse 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahawah will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem.
And this isn't people that took swords and started stabbing a landmass, you know, and started stabbing the ground, and started slaying the sand. It's talking about a people, Jerusalem. It tells you that the Lord, you know, made the, what does it say? The place
For the people's sake.
not the people for the place's sake. So the Lord didn't create this beautiful land and say, wow, I need some beautiful people to go with it. You know, the Lord created the beautiful people and then said, right, I need to set them in this beautiful land. Like it talks about in Sirach, I believe, is it? Yeah, the Maccabees is the people for a place. But in, I think it's Sirach, where it talks about how out of all lands he chose one flower. Sorry, of all flowers he chose one. Of all lands he chose one pit. And that pit is of course Jerusalem, that land, as we spoke about earlier, the great river, the Nile unto the Euphrates. Yeah, that is our land. We're not set there yet. Yeah, we fell away, pursuant to 2 Thessalonians 2. But we'll be going back, starting with the elect on the Yahawashi.
Zechariah 14 and 12. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh, bahasham Yahawashi, will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Right, that's the the destruction of the the ICBM missiles, and the just the nuclear destruction in general. Because if you ever seen the movie Terminator 2, the scene with Sarah Connor.
Is that the one on the wire?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man.
Right? It's going to be like a massive, like a nuclear fire, and it's just going to, eviscerate, anyone in the, that's, there. Like, anyone in the vicinity is just going to completely annihilate, as the scripture says.
Your eyes melting.
Right?
Your tongue, that you used to make all them scoffing comments, all those mocking words, melt away, bro. In your mouth while you stood up on your feet. What else could that be? What else is that? Because you will say, oh, it doesn't mean that. But then we say, alright, what does it mean? Oh, I'm going to get back to you on that. You don't know what it is, but you know exactly what it isn't. So therefore, you're guilty of adding and taking away from the word. Which, speaking of plagues, it tells you in Deuteronomy 4 and 2, and also the last book of Revelation. Right, so this is Revelation 22, and verse 18 and 19. For I testify unto you, every man that, oh my God. For I testify unto you, for I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, the Most High shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book of prophecy, of the book of this prophecy, the Most High shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. So you don't want to be that guy. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy. Say it like that. And that's dealing with Israelites. You know why? Because the book of life, it's like how they say, all medicines are drugs, not all drugs are medicines. Everyone in the book of life is an Israelite. Not every Israelite is in the book of life. You know, so to have your part taken out, that would mean you'd have to be illegible in the first place. Right? So the names getting taken out, getting scribbled out of that book, it's pursuant to Israelites, man. So you got to be careful. Careful what you say, and that's why groups will talk about unity camp this, unity camp that. They've got two different breakdowns on that book. One's saying this about Revelation, this chapter, and then the guy stood next to him is saying a completely contrary thing. So, if you're really in a spirit of love, you'd correct that brother. Because are you complacent with the plagues getting added onto him? How can we have a unity camp with someone that preaches a different doctrine? That's confusion. You might as well have a unity camp with a Hindu. Because you don't teach the same thing either. What's the difference?
Two walk together lest it be agreed.
There it is. And the little leaven of the whole lump.
That's right.
Right, you can't unpick it out. Once you've baked a bread, you put yeast in, you've kneaded it all out, you've put it in the oven, you've let it grow, let it go. You take it out. You can't pick out and pluck out little bits of yeast. You have to dash away the whole thing, man.
It's Psalm 19, verse 7.
Yeah.
The law of the Lord Yahawah, bahasham Yahawashi, is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord Yahweh is making sure, making wise the simple.
Read that again, please.
The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple.
So before this truth, we were simple. Before learning the laws, as Israelite foreigners, Gentiles, we were idiots. You're idiotes, which in the Greek means to go one's own way. And idios. So you get the term idiom. Like a pusandag nav siem look. Idiom, proverb. Right? And that goes back to the Greek word idiotes. So if when you call someone an idiot, you're not really saying that they're a person so mentally deficient as to be incapable of ordinary reasoning, like it says on the atoms. What you're really calling them, you say, yo, you're going your own way. Like Judges 21. So the book of Judges, chapter 21. And verse 25. It says, in those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Right? So that's a halalyam doctrine. Do as you will. Do as you want. I see we were all idiots. Going our own way. Like it tells you in, is it Proverbs 3 and 5? Trust in Yahawah with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. That's a guideline of how not to be a spiritual idiot. How not to go your own way. There's guidelines. The same Lord that created all this. How you have an instruction manual. You buy a new IKEA put together flat pack furniture. You don't just have to guess. You go to you might try. Let me see how this fits. You might be able to do it. But more time you have to check. You get halfway through. You go, what the fuck does this go? You check it. You check the creator's instructions, and then you know how to do it. Well, these are the creator of the earth's instructions on how to do it. How to do the earth. The land Sabbath. How to govern people. How to deal with men. Talking with.
Even the word Bible itself, the acronym, basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Yeah. And Biblios, as well as going into as a library, because it's a compilation of writings, of books.
That's right.
Because people say the Bible was plagiarized. How was the Bible is a compilation of books. So what would the Bible plagiarize? Genesis, Deuteronomy, all the way on. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. Need I go on? So are they all? Do you see Umar Johnson versus the Gokwan?
I was
the top guy of GOCC. Yeah, that was confusion as well. Pan-Africanism. Yeah, man, Pan-Africanism. And what Pan is a deity. Well, Pan really means all, but you do have a deity called Pan. That's where you get the term Peter Pan. That film. It's based on Ptah from Egypt and Pan. Two idols, man. And all these Avengers. Is Thor out of Avengers? Thor.
Yeah, he's out of Avengers.
Well, he's out of Nordic, Germanic bullshit fucking mythology as well, man. That's where you get the term Thursday.
That's right.
It's all idolatry. Which is Elder Apostle Gabar said if he was really a man of the law and not the man of sin, he would take out all these idolatrous words. You'll call it the first day, the second day, the third day. But he doesn't. Why? Because he's the devil.
Goes to show he makes his own tongue fall upon himself. This man will push one thing.
I'm a Christian.
Exactly. And then later on in that same day, he'll be for something else. You know, it's his
They're
death.
celebrating Mother's Day, man. Which is not, that's nothing else except but the worship of Friday. You know, Freya or Frigga. So that Friday comes from, which goes back to Aphrodite, which is where you get the term April from. You know, the month April. So once you know a bit about these idols, you can start poking holes in this bullshit, man. Not that you should, that should be your primary thing should know the law. You know, the law shows you these other, you can't know, how do you say it like this? If I said, all right, don't do this, you have to know what the this is in case you do it.
Right.
Right, so you have to sort of learn a bit of, especially in a system like this, you have to learn, you know, what the wrong is so you don't do it. You get me? That's why we have the law. You know, like Paul said, yeah, I had not known not to covet, except, yeah, not to lust, except the Lord said, thou shalt not covet.
Back to Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives, whose captives they were.
So who took us captive? How did we get to Babylon the Great? How did we get to the United States of America? Before even asking that, how did we get there? How did the so-called Negro get there? And that's just a few tribes.
That's right. And they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve.
So didn't we serve hard bondage in Babylon the Great America? We certainly did. In the islands as well.
That's right, plantations, sugar plantations.
That's why you had, I was like going back to what I was saying about the Georgian documentary I was watching. A part of abolitionism, you know, one of their movements was like, don't eat sugar, no sugar doctrine, because they were saying if you eat sugar, you're basically eating slave flesh. Yeah, they were not saying literally that, but that's what it was likened to. Yeah, because you're contributing unto this death and such. Yeah, so you had certain people in that, and a lot of E got caught up in slavery. You know, when the slave master raped the Jake woman, and she had a child, and it looked like a Jake. Then this slave master, he didn't want to deal with that. Yeah, you can go out there. Now, for the most part, he sent them back out. Then he would take a Jake wife, and that'll continue for generations. We've got all these groups trying to save black people. Well, a lot of these so-called black people are not even Israelites. Tares on the wheat.
That's right.
Right, and they look very similar. So what has to happen? The angels have to come and do it. Yeah, the reapers. Right, in the end of the world. So we're not doing it. That's why we're not doing it we're not looking at every so-called black person. Not even every Israelite's going to make it. So how are you going to get one phenotype, right? Let me look. Yeah, he's a Jake. They look at me. Nah, there's no way he is. You know, but then you've got a tear over there. You know, looks almost blacker than this. You know, this book here. Yeah. I mean the literal color of the cover here. Yeah, but he can go back to E. That's why we can't. What does it say? Judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment.
Isaiah 14, verse 4. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased.
The golden city, the top. What city is that? Yeah, the golden city, Babylon. Babylon the Great. Right, that's the whore. There's another one that talks about that great city. That great city that spiritually is called what? Sodom and Egypt.
That's right.
Right, which represents funny man and bear, you know, all of that business, and slavery. Because let me get this, Exodus 20 and 2. It's the book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2. It says, I am the Lord thy God, Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Right, so Egypt is synonymous with bondage. When you go into the word Matazarium, it also says double straights, according to the blue letter. So it means, I know they will get double. Just as we were, I think it says in, let me just try to find it. They shall receive on the right hand. So you got a right hand double and a left hand double. There it is. Isaiah 61 and verse 7. For your shame you shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. Right, so that's on the right hand. We'll get double. Now I'll just get this before we proceed. This is Revelation chapter 18 and verse, I'll just get straight to the point. Verse 6. Reward her, talking about this whore, this city, this golden city. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Right, so we get double the joy. They get double the judgment. So there you have it. And this is coming on this earth. The heaven isn't that we just get abducted from earth, never come back. We get taken up in chariots. And that's what, when it talks about the heavenly Jerusalem coming down from the sky, why is that? Because we were taken up into clouds, man.
Right.
Right, and then we go.
Also, Scripture says the earth abideth forever too.
There it is. There it is. It doesn't implode like the Death Star. You got people thinking when it says a new heaven and a new earth, all right, so the Lord sort of erases it, resets it. It will get reset, as in beautified, but it will be this same earth.
Is the word for that new? Is it kainos?
Yeah.
So
Which is a refreshing, a renewing.
Yeah. Just like you have a new moon, it's not a brand new.
Exactly.
New moon. Just a new, freshening of a cycle.
Yeah, a new moon means a new month.
That's right.
And that's how you base if it comes in. Say you're on the 14th day. No, it's not gonna be like that. But the 20-something day, then the new moon comes in, then the week resets as well. Right. So you're gonna have a Sabbath. Well, you're gonna have the new moon, which is as a Sabbath. And 7 days later, you're gonna have a Sabbath. 7 days after that, you'll have a Sabbath. That's how based on. And when you get into the word Chadash, that's the term for month. It's also the term for new moon. So like it says in the scripture, the month, the month is also named after her. In Sirach 43, it talks about the moon. And the term in English, month and moon, they go back to the same root. So, the scripture proves true in the Hebrew and in the English just for that verse.
Right.
I mean the etymology. The scripture is true in every language, on every verse. What I'm saying is, the example used, you might have different languages, so it doesn't apply, but it's dealing with the Hebrew, but it happens to deal with the English as well.
So the Micah 2 and 4. In that day shall one take up a parable against you, and lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled, he hath changed the portion of my people, how hath he removed it from me? Turning away he hath divided our fields. Therefore thou shalt have none that shall cast the cord by lot in the congregation of the Lord Yahawah. Verse 6, prophesy ye not, say they to them that prophesy, they shall not prophesy to them, that they shall not take shame. Look to verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted, it shall surely destroy you, even with a sword destruction. So I saw a report, I believe it was like maybe approximately 4.5 million Americans leaving, like just quitting their jobs, So surely, it's not a place where you can, look to take rest, build an empire there, set up business, make mirth.
It says in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day what?
Our daily bread. That's all you need, to get by. You shouldn't be in that spirit of, next few years I'm going to plan to go to uni, get a degree, get a, PhD in whatever field that you like, when we probably don't even have like 5 years left.
I hope not, man. I really hope not. That Hebrew Israelite prepper spirit.
That's right.
don't worry, brother. I got 3 million bottles of water in my cellar. Yeah, because it tells you in the Apocrypha in 2nd Ezra, it's either 15 or 16, where it talks about everyone, you know, that stored up these goods. Man, will boot down your door, take that and eat it himself. So all these stuff you're storing up, you know, it might be the case that, you know, someone is storing it up, you know, and the men or the women, children of the Lord, are able to get, you know, fed from it. But it's not our responsibility. How are we to prep? We're prepping our spirits.
That's right.
Yeah, we're trying to prepare for something that's impreparable for, which is the time of Jacob's trouble, time of great persecution. You know, imagine preparing. You know, I've been thinking about this a lot recently. How it talks about someone will be beheaded for Hamashiach. Now, just the you know, you ever nicked yourself with a knife and you're like, fuck.
Oh yeah,
You're cutting a carrot up, you're trying to, for fuck's sake. Now imagine that, like with a big chopper up on your head. You know, and they might take it, so they do it a bit. So are you going to renounce your God? Are you going to renounce your God? And they do it a bit. You know, these are the things. Now it sounds a bit, yeah, I'm making it hyperbolic or whatever. You know, making it seem yeah, I'm sanitizing it because it's going to be a lot worse than that. You know, you're might be screaming in your face, saying, "Are you going to renounce your God? Are you going to bow to the? Yeah, are you going to take the charagma?" Yeah, these are the things that are coming, man. So we have to prepare ourselves. Yeah, but the best way to prepare is building up the faith. Not trying to think, right, what, like it says, settle it, not therefore what you're going to answer. Thinking, right, once this, I'm gonna write a letter. I'm gonna cuss out Boris Johnson. I'm gonna tell Joe Biden he's a pussy hole. You know, you're not meant to be meditating on these things, but the Spirit will give you an appropriate thing to answer at that time.
That's right.
You know.
So, granted, you know, it's wise obviously to, you know, save a little, you know.
Yeah, we're not saying don't do that. If you know there's a storm coming, you're gonna get snowed in. Do what you got to do, but don't be in the. Sorry.
Putting all your faith, like putting all your faith in it, as if that's gonna deliver you in that time.
Because where a man's heart is, there's his treasure.
That's right.
Also, right. So we're meant to store up ours in the heaven. Where a thief can't break through, kick down your door and take everything. Yeah, and a moth can, you know, corrupt it.
That's right. This is John chapter 16, verse 1. These things have I spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh, that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth the Most High service. Right, so, you know, great persecution's coming. You know, they're already, you know, setting up the stage of slander. You know, slander us for, you know, bringing out the word, demonizing us, you know, with vocab and you know, the media too.
This Hebrew Israelite did this. Yeah, and there was a run of like Hebrew Israelite, you know, terror incidents, so called, or, you know, a guy, they didn't say outright, but they show a Jake with a beard. You know, that Jake with a beard is the new image of, you know, fucking Ishmael with a turban on his head and
like
a beard.
Terrorist type.
Yeah. Like trying to make out like the Arab is the worst man and the most violent man. When you've gone around the whole fucking earth enslaving, pillaging, you're robbing lands,
raping, everything,
slaughter, you know, adultery. You know, when we were in slavery, taking our women while they knew they had a man, you know, stuff like that. But he's not a man of the law. He is the man of sin. So of course he would do that. So that's what I'm saying. You had like a series of Jake terror attacks. Now because every now and then I'll search up Hebrew Israelite and I'll put in news. I'll search in Israelite this news. I'll put in, you know, the M word, the charagma news, M word human implant news. You know, you got to keep watching. It tells you about keep watching. So
watch and pray. That's right.
But now when you look at it, it doesn't come up too much. There's that. Did you ever see that teenager that is like basketball? I believe it was coach made him eat a pepperoni pizza.
I believe I saw.
And his family got in uproar, you know, rightly so, and was saying, "Oh, I'm a Hebrew Israelite," you know, pushing it all. So you've got that which is not painting us in a negative light. So it's interesting. You know, we'll see how it plays out. But ultimately, they will make reference. This incident happened in 2016. This happened in 2017. You know, this is becoming a trend. You know, when you see people on street corners, don't approach them. Don't. You know, it's all gonna come. Yeah, they're a master manipulation, witchcraft. They're getting into people's heads, making them push the hive mentality. You saw how many fights broke out because people didn't want to wear a mask. You stuff like that, because they're telling you if you don't wear a mask, this will happen. It's, a lot of people gobble, not to say that it does or it doesn't, but just the point that someone can tell you this and that. Now everyone's on that. Everyone just immediately buys in, not questioning it.
Isaiah 14:5. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers.
A scepter or a staff. A staff is obviously a solid wooden instrument. It's a weapon. It's like it can be used. It's got many uses. Moses had a staff, for example, and scepter. It goes into a rulership. Right. So this golden city ceasing, Babylon the Great falling down, the rulership being rent from under him. Yahawashi is coming to take down these kingdoms, man.
That's right.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 15, and verse 24. It says, Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to the Most High, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power. For he must reign till he hath put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Right, so all these kingdoms are getting put down. The E's getting put down. The Moabites think they're coming up. No, you're going down. The Elamites, you're not coming up, you're going down. Right, and the Lord is going to put down all these heathen rulerships, all these kingdoms.
That's right.
They're all getting put down. You can't have two. This town ain't big enough for the both of them. This heathen rulership is contrary to righteous rulership, and Yahawashi's kingdom, Yahawashi's empire rulership. They can't live together. So when Yahawashi comes back by means of great miracles, chariots, fire, these are the things that will be coming upon earth, and that's an omen of your destruction. These chariots that you see, do you remember the article they were talking about 144 chariot sightings? Did you ever see that one?
I don't believe I saw that.
In 1 year, I think they were saying 140. Do you mind searching up?
Actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because that's spiritual. That is an omen of your destruction.
What was it? Yeah, record of 4.5 million Americans quit the job in March.
Yeah. People are getting fed up, man. There's 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Do you remember when it was like?
Oh, yeah.
When they're telling them, I don't worry, it's over in 2 weeks. Nah, bro. We'll see. That's what I said. We'll see. It could be, but I doubt it. Yeah, like 144 UFOs. Put change chariot to UFO.
Oh yeah.
Got to speak in E's language.
From
Yep.
NBC News. UFO report, government can't explain 143 of 144 mysterious flying objects, blames limited data.
144, they know what's going on. What date is that from, please?
That was
June
June 25th, yeah, last year.
June 25th. So it's there, man. Maybe show them the title and headline. See? Yes, that's spiritual, man. 144. You can explain one, but you can't explain the other 143. And there's been a lot of chariot sightings, or they'll say UFO or UAP in England, which stands for unidentified aerial phenomena. There's been a lot of them. Again, that's an omen of your destruction.
Right.
Who layeth the beams? It says, who maketh the clouds his chariot. Right, so the Lord's got angels to drive those vehicles. It tells you that in Ezekiel, the 1st chapter. How it talks about certain. Maybe we can get into that another time. Do a sit down in it then.
It's Habakkuk 2:6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him?
Right, which is exactly, that's perfect, because this is exactly what it's saying about the king of Babylon. They're taking a proverb against him. So when it's talking about Lucifer, this, and it's going into all of it, it's still in the context of the king of Babylon.
Woe to him start again from the top. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his?
Now, the land of Babylon the Great wasn't his. Right? You had tribes going there, Gad, Reuben. Yeah, you had the north, where it tells you about that in 2 Ezra 13 later on in the chapter. We got into the first part. Yeah, last week, but later on it tells you how it was in the time of Hosea, or in the Hebrew the name is Yahawashi, that I think was it Shalmaneser. Let me check real quick. I don't want to be giving no fake news. 2 Ezra 13. It was. Just 2 Ezra 13 and verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their land in the time of OC, which is OSEA, which means Hosea in the Hebrew Yahawashi, the king. So they were carried out their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. And so came they into another land. Where they took this counsel among themselves, they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. And you got these groups, mankind dwelt everywhere, but when people try and explain their own doctrine on Asura, it just creates more confusion. Talking about mankind dwelt everywhere, but this is a place where mankind never dwelt, although they dwelt everywhere. Or this is apparently Africa. Yeah, but it'll tell you who dwelt in Africa. Yeah, where do you get the term? Where is Put, for example? Yeah, what is the land of Ham? Yeah, because it tells you that Egypt was part of that. Yeah, so anyway.
And Ham just means hot.
Yeah, Ham.
Yeah.
So that's when you talk about Kemet, that's where it comes from. You're talking about I'm a Kemet. I don't deal with the Bible. The Bible's got nothing in it. I'm from Kemet. Guess what? You just call yourself a Hamite. And the word Ham is in the Bible, as the brother just said. So this is verse 42, that they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land, and they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. And then it goes on to tell that they went to Asura, the land of Ophir. And that's reducing to ashes, which is what Babylon will be in the end. So this is gonna. He took that which is not his. That was one, the land. He took upon himself the names. He took to himself the house of the Most High, calling himself a Christian, saying this is his. This book is to do with him. He applied that book to himself, so now he can sin. He's a man of sin. And
he took him to himself us,
yeah.
Which is not. Where the apple of the Lord's eye.
That's a key one.
That's right.
Because that's a big sentence you get for that, man.
That's right.
And even taking and purposing when you're thinking to have of your methodeia. If you said that's where you get the term method from, of your methodeia and your purpose, thinking that you're going to put the charagma in all these other nations. Ultimately, in terms of their salvation, they can take it. They're not going to get salvation. But from our perspective, well, isn't that the inheritance of Yahawashi? So what do you have to put your stamp and put your mark on them? They're trying to get us to take it.
Exactly.
You're trying to penetrate, which is what the charax is, a palisade. You're trying to penetrate the Lord's woman. We're meant to be a chaste virgin. 2 Corinthians 11 and 2 talks about how Paul wanted to present us to Hamashiach Yahawashi as a chaste virgin. Right, so how can we be a chaste virgin if we've been penetrated? If we've been touched? A virgin, I believe the word in Hebrew is pafwala.
Revelation 12 and 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman, which represents Israel, clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet,
which represents wisdom
and knowledge. Yeah, that's right. And upon her head a crown of 12 stars, which represents the 12 tribes.
Yep.
And she, being with the child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered.
Yep. Because
that's right. Because the Lord's hearing our cry. We're constantly, pushing out this word,
sighing and crying.
That's right.
Just as in that time of Herod, You know, because this is dealing with the time of Herod up until verse 7, I believe it. Oh no, up until verse 6. Then in verse 7 it continues. So you've got some that's going into history, yeah, and then you've got some that's going into prophecy. So it's giving you a rundown on what happened. You know, because an angel appeared unto Joseph in a dream. Now, why didn't it appear unto Mary? You know, considering that she's meant to be the high, exalted, you know, chief priest, grand poobah of Zechariah. No, joking. Yeah, she's meant to be this high, exalted lady. Yeah, which, do you remember that woman in the scripture? Blessed be the paps which thou hast sucked. Blessed, yeah, the woman hyping herself up and trying to, you know, extol Mary. And Yahawashi said, you know, paraphrasing, nay, blessed are they that doeth what the Most High requires. You know, paraphrasing that.
And anyway, a prophetess is just a, you know, wife of a husband, not an actual prophet. Exactly. A prophet, sorry. Yeah.
And why doesn't it tell you? Is it in Acts? Why doesn't it tell you about Deborah? Yeah, where it just mentions Barak. You know, cuts. But yeah, in this it tells you Herod appeared, not Herod, an angel appeared unto Joseph to say that Herod was being a wicked devil. You know, he was trying to kill all the male children of the Israelites, because that's where the nation comes from, the seed of the man. But right. He knew that Hamashiach, the Messiah, was there, you know, because they brought down the prophecy. And Herod Herod was a tear that looked like a jade, you know, when you go into that history as well. Yeah, you know, so he sort of fucking blended in and was able to get away with certain shit.
Verse 3, Revelation 12 and 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads,
which represents
the EU.
No,
NATO. Yeah. And the 10 horns representing the EU, and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven,
dealing with, you know, some of the Israelites,
and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered.
Right, so this dragon, this devil, this serpent, as it goes on to explain, you know, was waiting for the woman to give birth to a child. Now, when you go into Matthew the 2nd chapter, which, let's do it. Yeah, it's very obvious that this is talking about Herod, and Herod was a well-known Edomite. Job was a well-known Edomite. You know, Herod was a well-known Edomite, man. Job wasn't one, but Herod was. So let's get this. Matthew the 2nd chapter. This is Matthew 2, and I'll read verses 1 to 16. I'll be as quick as I can. But you gotta get this history as well. For the prophecy, what do they say? The apostles say to understand the mystery,
you have to know the history.
Yeah, to understand the mystery, you gotta know the history. Man.
Exactly.
So this is now when Yahawashi was born in Bethlehem of Yahawah or Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. Now it doesn't say there were 3 wise men; they were just wise men that brought 3 gifts. That's where you get the idea, which really is a mythology or an old wives' tale, saying, so behold, in the days of Herod, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. You know, so they were shook. You know, why? Because they were living comfortably. You know, they were the guys they were the bourgeoisie. You know, they were the bourgeoisie of that time. You know, so they weren't thrilled there, because again, this town ain't big enough for the both of them. You know, if you've got one guy calling himself king of the Jews, Herod, because he was set up by Rome as a client king, you know. So if he was already set up as a client king, he was in his rulership, he was comfortable, you know, there was no stress for him really. And now you've got this guy, or these guys making you aware that there's the actual king, you know, and you're feeling kind of shook in your spirit. You know, that's why he was trying to go full devil mode. You know, take out anyone that could possibly be the king. He wanted to murk all the Israelite children, the male children. It says, when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Hamashiach should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, and thou Bethlehem in the land of Judah, I think that's Micah the 5th chapter as well, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, which means privately, yes, he's been discreet, serpentine about it, called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he said to them, and he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child, and when you have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. Now he was being deceptive, he didn't want to worship him, he wanted to kill him. Right? Verse 9, when they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. You know, and that's a chariot, that's a UFO, so-called, you know. Verse 11, and when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And notice how they didn't worship his mother, right, and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. Now they're the three gifts, that's where you get that. Verse 12, and being warned of the Most High in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. Right, so the Lord set it up that they didn't go back to Herod and snitch. Right, verse 13, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. So there it is. You know, so the Heavenly Father sent an angel of the Heavenly Father to warn that Herod's not trying to worship him, you know, as he told and deceived the wise men. Yeah, and they were wise to take heed unto that dream as well. Yeah, they didn't just go, oh, you know, it might not be. It was set up a spirit like that. It said, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. Yeah, we can get that.
Micah chapter 5.
Should be verse 1.
Oh yeah, verse 1. Now
get 1 and 2.
Get on. No. Micah 5, verse 1. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He hath laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek.
Yeah, and that ultimately is a fulfillment also of 2 Samuel 7, which I'll pull that in a minute if I remember.
Verse 2, but thou, Bethlehem, Ephratah, thou the little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth have been from old, from everlasting.
From everlasting, you know, what does that mean? The first spirit created. So you want to talk about, oh, I only deal with the Old Testament. You ain't dealing with the full deck.
That's right, you're supposed to eat the whole roll.
Yeah. When your parents say, yo, you want better eat them blood clot Brussels sprouts, man. Yeah, you have to eat them peas. Yeah, not peas like peas. I'm talking your little green peas, or you know the unsavory bit. Yeah, the savory bit. But the bit when you're young, you know, you don't like eating greens and stuff. We like it now, you know, because we understand what it's beneficial, you know. But at the time, you have to eat the whole roll. The jokes aside, you do have to eat the whole roll. Right, so Matthew chapter 2 and verse 16. So when, you know, after all this transpired, you know, the wise men have departed into a different country. They go, I'm not going back to him. You know, Joseph has taken his family down into Egypt. So Herod's pissed off. It says verse 16, then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Right, so he just told you Herod was exceedingly wroth. So he was a mad, wrath, and angry red devil, right? Because he's a red dragon. You know, and he killed every single child 2 years old and under. Yeah, in all Bethlehem and on all the coasts. So he's at every nook and cranny. You know, every nook and cranny he's searching and he slew them all off. Right. So now if we go back to Revelation 2, and bear in mind he was a client king for Rome and he was an Edomite. Right. So that's two dragon points for him. Oh, sorry, not Revelation 2.
Oh,
Revelation
12.
12.
I think
No, I think I said that.
Yeah, I should have thought.
Matthew 2 and Revelation 12. I'm getting confused.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered.
So the dragon, which is, you know, the devil, which is a physical, not the spiritual demon Satan, the physical counterpart thereof, that wicked serpent, it stood before the woman, which represents Israel, waiting for her to be, what does it say, delivered?
Delivered.
Yeah, delivered, and that is going into, you know, childbirth, if I'm not mistaken. I think it means delivered as in, can we check that? Delivered as a child rather than, you know, deliverance from the Heavenly Father, that being redeemed. Because the woman on a micro scale, you can say it's Mary because she was a woman with child, but on the actual breakdown, the macro level, is it's talking of the Israelite nation. As it says, Jeremiah 3, you know, if a man takes a wife and this wife goes around parading, whoring herself out, getting, you know, basically having sex with all these other different men, are you going to take him back? Should not that land be greatly... In fact, it didn't say that. It says if a woman, let me get it verbatim. No, let me not. I'll just, for time's sake. Basically, if a man has a woman and that woman goes and sleeps with one man, should not that land be greatly polluted? Right, and that's just one man. So imagine if you've had enough, you know, 6, 7, you know, onwards and upwards of 10, 20 man. How much greatly polluted is that? Yeah, and that was symbolic of us committing idolatry, because we were meant to be married unto the Heavenly Father. Then we went and married ourselves into these idols. Yeah, so we were greatly polluted, but the Heavenly Father had mercy upon us and cleansed us.
Revelation 12:4. The word title.
TikTok. Not to be confused with TikTok. Let's hear him say it. I don't even know how to say that.
Strong's G 5088. TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok.
To bring forth, bear, produce fruit from the seed of a woman giving birth, of the earth bring forth its fruits.
Right, so we're looking for deliverance and to be delivered and have that heavenly, you know, salvation. But this deliverance is talking about delivering a child. Like you go into labour and you deliver the child. That's what it's talking about.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which is ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
Didn't it say that Herod wanted to destroy, or did, you know, destroy all of them 2 years old and under? Like when the angel appeared unto Joseph, they let him know this is what, you know, the dragon, the devil, was trying to do. That old serpent, which is the devil and Satan.
Verse 5. And she brought forth a man child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto the Most High, and to his throne.
Right.
And the woman fled into the wilderness.
Dealing with, you know, us fleeing into Africa during the place of the time of 66 to 72 AD. Right. Anno Domini, the year of the Lord. So in the Gregorian calendar, that's dealing with the after the year 0.
And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of the Most High, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
Because where did we have? We had a place prepared in the Americas, in the land of Ophir, in the land of Asherah. You know, that we would be fed there for 350 years, because that's that same time frame that it's going into in times and dividing of time. That's 3.5. It talks about in Daniel. You also have this in Revelation 11 chapter when it talks about prophesied in sackcloth.
Oh yeah,
that's what.
The dry bones in it. Oh no.
basically us being in slavery.
Oh yeah.
And that's slave being dry bones, not having the knowledge, not having
That's it.
anything except slavery. We were fed though, they did feed us. It wasn't because out of the kindness of their heart, because you need a slave. It's like saying that we charge our cell phones because we love our cell phones. And it's like we love our cell phones because we have no use for it if it's not charged. They have no use for a slave that's not fed. Because that's what a robot means. When you get to the word robot, it means a slave or a servant. Yeah, so these little devices, electronic devices, really they're slaves. They've taken away a lot of. Because that's what you had in the Industrial Revolution. They were bringing in all this different tech. You didn't need man to spin flax or whatever. You could get a machine to. I don't know the specific ins and outs. I'm not too hot on that history, but I'm aware of that being a pivotal point in. It contributed to the abolition thereof, which is all again is the Heavenly Father setting it up. But this man, he took the profits from enslaving the prophets, and then from there continued to build up his kingdom. That's like when we're saying in I don't even know if I finished that Revelation 18, but basically the other nations are going to cry, howl because of what happens to Babylon the Great, because they make money there. It's all about money. The love of money. It's the root of all evil. And it's caused, I'm paraphrasing, but it's caused many to err, to be in error. They've pierced themselves through with many sorrows. You have a saying in the world, rich people tend to say, Jacob's come up, so-called, more money, more problems. Because once you got your jewels on. Niggas always trying to take your jewels, jack boys, stick up kid. It's more world, more problem. The higher you get up in this world, you're gonna have more problems in the spirit. Which is all right for some that are devoid of that. But a lot of Jake, they'll talk about how the industry is problematic and everything like that. But then they'll still try and integrate themselves into it.
Exactly. And build themselves off it, and ultimately end up getting drawn in so much to the fact that they start kind of worshipping it. In a sense. Yeah, that's right.
The top elites of all these industries, they do worship these idols, man. They believe in them, they give power unto them. I was watching one weird fucking thing. It's basically this, what do you call it, like criminal investigation or whatever. And this guy started worshipping a cartoon character. And out of that, he worshipped a cartoon character, and he started calling it a goddess. And he said that he believed he was a cartoon character, and he would basically, he went on to kill loads of people and then killed himself. And he believed when he died, he would basically reincarnate as a fucking cartoon woman, a cartoon ghost girl. So people really do worship these diverse things. It's not just that is a crazy, hyperbolic example. However, people do give life to these different things. Now that's just one man who sort of booked himself out. Now when you're around other people and it becomes the culture of that industry, you can see how easy people get ensnared in that. And then, you're not going to get a record deal unless you do this. You do something that compromises or stains your integrity. And then they've got a video or an image of it, and they'll blackmail you through that. Unless you do this, I'm going to show everyone that you let one man pop you or whatever. I'm going to show everyone that you're a faggot. And then you start. It's all wickedness, man.
Exactly. There's a lot of witchcraft in these, TV shows, and especially your cartoons like your Disney and your Nickelodeon.
Yeah. That's what they set up the. Yeah, man. They train up a child in the way he should go,
right.
And when he is old, he will not depart from it. They said the wicked apply that as well. They train them up in wicked practices, and then they train the average person to bring the average Jake to bring up their children in celebrating Christmas, celebrating birthdays, reverencing themselves, feeling like. I remember there's one camcorder, video thing of one Christmas when I was young, like 3-4 years old, and I was given an orange,
right.
And an orange is a nutrition, it will fill you up, like we're talking about Brussels sprouts. They dropped out, I looked at it and I go, that's not a present. What the fuck? So a 3 or 4 year old can be not brainwashed, brain dirtied to be unappreciative of a simple gift. That is a present. Fucking enjoy it. But obviously Christmas isn't a righteous thing, but the whole idea of being given something, you're expecting some big grand,
grandiose type of
crazy thing. Yeah, if someone gave me an orange now, I'd be grateful as fuck, man. I'd be saying Tawada, man.
Likewise. Revelation 12 and 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of the Most High, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
Yeah, so if you add that up, it goes into 3.5 years, which is symbolic of 350 years.
That's right.
And that's it, because verse 7 goes on to prophecy.
Right.
The Lord bringing those UFOs, so-called, that we've been talking about, the chariots, and this man trying to make war with the saints, which he already did. He overcame the saints, but when the saints, because what we are is angels, angelos, messengers in physical, chains of darkness, as it says in Jude. We're in the,
That's right. Yeah.
So we're stuck. We are the angels that sinned, because it tells you, blessed be the Heavenly Father Yahawah and His angels who excel in strength and do His commandments.
That's right.
Yeah. So if His angels do His commandments, who are these angels that sinned? These angels, these messengers that were put into flesh. And Mark chapter 1 and verse 2 will tell you that John the Baptist was a messenger. When you go into that word for messenger, guess what it was? It was angelos. Yeah, so that's good.
Book of Jude, chapter 1.
Verse 4.
Verse 4.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's
6.
Yeah. Jude chapter 1 verse 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, He hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
Right, so we were put into these vessels, man, these earthly vessels that are subject unto sin. Like we're talking about them carnal jakes. If you're as the monastery says, a chad, like 10'3", you got biceps bigger than this tree. You're still weak because you're still in this flesh.
Exactly.
Until we're changed, and that's our come up. Jake always wants to talk about, I came up off this, I came up off that. Well, you're still in your flesh. You're still subject to sin. So how did you really come up? You don't know the Lord. You don't know your law. You don't know your heritage. You don't know your coach. You don't know your name. All of these things. So how did you come up? When we come up, it's when it says, come up hither. When we come up into them chariots, that's our come up. And when we get changed. But let's get this. This is Revelation 18 and verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Right, so you're going to see all these nations that have been made rich with all the merchandise that Babylon has had to offer. Then they're going to be weak in that day. They're going to be weeping, mourning, crying, bugging out because they can't make pee anymore. It's not because they don't really like it, because it tells you in Isaiah 14 and 8 or 12, I believe, where it talks about how thou become weak like unto we. So it's not that they love Babylon and they think that they're righteous. It's because they make money off it, right? And that they love money. Start already. I'll get back to 4 because it's left off there.
Isaiah 14 and 4. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased? The Lord Yahweh, bahasham Yahawashi, hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and none hindereth.
Right, so meaning he's going to get put down. No nation's going to come up. No, sorry, protect Mr. E. They're all going to do that battle, but once they see what's actually happening, like it says in here, it's the book of Proverbs. 29 and verse 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So they're going to eventually recognize, wait, these are actually righteous governors, man. Yeah, they're not going to try and stop he getting destroyed and put down. They're actually going to mock him.
Verse 7. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing.
Did you see it, man? Yeah, these people are going to start. They're going to start singing. Yeah, and that's what you do when you like. Say you get some good news, but
you start skanking it.
Hey. Yeah, so you start getting excited. So they're going to start getting excited, man. Start two-stepping on these devils, man.
And just even singing itself and dancing, that's like you're expressing your spiritual, your spiritual side of yourself.
Like a lot of, not the music of today, the hip hop. I'm gonna shank this nigga. I'm gonna take this guy's head off. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna sell this much crap. Yeah, that's of course of the world. But you know, it sounds good on a carnal level. It's like it sounds. You sort of vibe to it.
Yeah.
When you really hear what they're saying, the content there's nothing. But we're a musical people. You know, you had those women after David circled the up block. You know, and deaded all them. You know, Saul has killed thousands and David is tens of thousands, and they were singing that. That was a song. Yeah, so we are a musical people. Yeah, but we've been brought low, even from the 80s music. It's just 70s. Degraded. Yeah, 70s as well. Or 60s. Really, all of it. Did you ever see that? Well, it's oh no, some jubilaires they're called, and they were basically speaking, but it was like the first sort of rap. I think it's from the 1920s, and they're singing about Noah and the flood.
I believe so. Was it like black and white?
Yeah. There's a version that's actually been colorized, but
right.
In general, that's what it was.
Because I believe it's the same one I saw, but it might be from the 40s, and there were. Yeah,
it might be 40s. It might be 40s. Might be 40s though.
Because I remember, yeah.
But they were spitting. They were getting down, man. But it tells you about Ecclesiastes 12 and 4, the daughters of music being brought low.
I was about to,
yeah. The music, the quality will be brought to a base level, man. A basement. A bashment. See that as well, the yard music is just disgusting, man. Scantily clad women, twerking, it's all the same shit. I'm not talking about, the Rasta sort of conscious stuff. You're talking about Babylon burning. Yeah, that we can get down with until it says Haile Selassie or something like that. A lot of that. But all this bashment, this new Americanized, Babylonianized yard music, disgusting, man. Wook and juk and fuck.
Yeah. Verse 8. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fella, and if you go to the word fella, it goes back to like lumberjack, someone who cuts down trees. No fella is come up against us. Hell from beneath is moved for thee.
Just going back to that last verse, so he is well known for deforestation, man.
Yeah, that's
He's well known for cutting down the Amazon. And you know what trees give us? Oxygen. And we need oxygen. You have a song, all you need is love. No, you do need oxygen. You need water, you need basic things for the flesh to thrive. You get me? Not just thrive, but rather to continue. Because we're not thriving in this wicked flesh. So he goes around, he cuts down the trees, to make various. Yeah, he creates certain stuff out of destruction. Yeah, that's his only way of creating stuff.
Pollutes the water and animals. Nearly, perhaps 95% nearly even are endangered or gone extinct or so.
Well, that's the thing. The fact he even says 95% of this, 95% of that, and then in the same breath he'll admit, but I've not searched the whole earth. So you don't know if you've got 95% of it. You've just got, let's say you've just got 95 species. You're assuming there's 100. There might be 200, 300, 400. So you don't know. It shows you his pride, man. The pride of his heart has deceived him. Him that dwelleth in the clefts of the rock, that is.
Isaiah 14 and 9. Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming. It stir up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth.
Hold on, hell. I thought everyone was living in hell, you know, burning alive for however, suffering. Hell just means grave, pit.
You know, like the one we're in now.
Yep, the bottomless pit. Because that's another, the scripture that talks about, of all the flowers of the earth I chose a lily, of all the lands I chose one pit. Well, that shows pit is talking about a land. The bottomless land, the bottomless pit, the abyss, the abusos. That's where we're in.
Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us?
Because that's what you've got. You've got the children of the Most High, the children of the wicked, and the children of men. So the children of men are going to have then in derision the children of the wicked. Well, you're just like us. You're just a man like me. Yeah, you're not a mighty wicked man anymore.
Right. Verse 11. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. You know, like all the infrastructure you built, you know, in America. You know, that's all degrading. It's building. It's, you know, corroding. Because how was America established? You know, on blood.
Woe to him that buildeth a city.
That's right. You know, and just even like over here with, you know, like roadworks and, you know, like certain like buildings that they're always, you know, constantly working on them because, you know, it. You know, you have the roadworks. They're just constantly, you know, going over them, doing them again. You know, and you know that's just destroying like the, you know, the land and
the mining, like he pushes out this new electric car stuff. But the amount of mining and destruction of the land you have to do to extract certain resources, is it even that, you know, beneficial? And the combustion engine as well. Yeah, prior to that, yeah, everything that he creates, it breeds destruction, man. And it's not perfect. Why would he have to go over roadworks every 3 weeks?
That's it. Yeah.
If his creation was good, it's like the jump shot, man. I won't say too much, but why do you need 17 of them? Did you get me? It's so good. I don't need 17 of them, man.
Verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer?
Oh! See? I told you, brothers. You don't know the Bible. Right? Heaven, ruling estate, a ruling class. Hell, lower state. We're in hell now. Yeah, we're in hell. We're in our hell. You have a saying in the world, I don't know where it comes from, but the black man's hell is the white man's heaven, or the vice versa. The white man's heaven is the black man's hell. Yeah? So the so-called black man, which includes the Hispanic, the Native American, and whenever we say black in general, we're just referring to Jake. You know, that's just a term the world uses. So whenever we're in a lower state, or whenever he's in a topper state, we're going to be low. Now, when we rise up, there's nowhere, this town ain't big enough for the both of us. There's no place for you but the grave. They'll come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Okay?
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer?
And Lucifer means what? Light bearer. Light bearer, that's it. Doesn't mean devil, which he is one, but it doesn't mean that. It means light bearer. He brings this so-called wisdom, right? This so-called enlightenment, this knowledge, which the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. So he's not wise. Now, where is thy wise man? Yeah?
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer?
Although he is wiser than Daniel.
Yeah,
but he's wise, but he's not wise. So he's sort of bugged out. He's the cleverest bug out I know.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said,
And this is what you're about to read as well. It says that in 2 Thessalonians 2. Also says that in yeah, I am, and basically there is no other than me. I can't remember what it is as well. Definitely in 2 Thessalonians.
For thou hast said in thine heart, meaning mind, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will also sit...
Which is trying to do that, you know, with the space exploration and shit.
That's right. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High.
That's how he pushes out, you know, I am and there is none else.
Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof?
And that's, he's known for that, man. Literally known for that. This is Isaiah 47 and verse 8. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures. And it tells you about that in Timothy. You know, she that, what is it? She that liveth in pleasure while she liveth.
Is dead.
No, she that, what is it?
She that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth.
Yeah, let's find it. Isaiah 47 and verse 8. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children.
This is 1 Timothy 5 and 6. But she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth.
Right, so you've got that, and she, you know, Babylon the Great is known as a whore. Yeah, it's known as a female spirit. Like, not as a spirit, it's known as a female empire. So she is a whore. And now this is 2 Thessalonians, just to bring this up, that it's all correlating to the same, the man of sin, you have Babylon. So 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3 says, Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, shewing himself that he is the Most High. And that's what he's trying to do, you know, sit in the congregation of the north, like we just read. It's the same thing, right? So that's dealing with, you know, Babylon, the man of sin, who's headed by Eve. I read Genesis 25:25, Genesis 27 verse 39 and 40. It's showing that he's blessed with a sword, and then you can line that up with Revelation 6 and 4. You know, that red devil upon that red horse, man, to take peace from the earth. Wherever he's gone, he takes peace from, man.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Isaiah 14 verse 17. That made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house.
We made reference to that earlier. So yeah, man. So you're done, man. You're going down, man. Down in a. It's going down, man. It's going down. You're going down.
Circling the drain.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you may as well live it up to the best of your that you can. You know, get all the money you can. Be all mirthful you can.
Buy enough bottles of whiskey. You know, prep. Buy your 3 million bottles of water for that time. You know, because the Heavenly Father's not going to save you. You know, so you might as well try to deliver yourself. Yeah, you're the best in it. You are and none else. So why don't you, which you will, why don't you go to war with the Heavenly Father? You know, as it says, as we nearly read, Revelation 12 and 7, you know, Michael and his angels shall fight against the devil and his angels. Right? So yeah, that's really it. Right? Yeah, man, so we'll leave it there. You know, we pray it's been edifying. Next video, Lord willing, all praises to
Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawashi, bahasham, Rachakodash.
Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, laboring the word and doctrine. Shalom. Peace to the elect.
Shalom.